Internet, hello to all of you. It's turbines to speed time, batteries to power, dial M for motherfucker, because it is 9 o'clock on a Monday night and that means it is Mondo murder party time. Hello all of you, I hope you're all alright. Now, I have quite a few things to get through tonight. I hope you're all feeling well, I hope you're all alright, you've got somewhere comfortable to stay. So, it's been a bit of a week, there's a few announcements to make. Things have not all been entirely well, but that's fine, life just carries on. And we just process, right, and we just carry on through. So, the first order of business is the official business, and then after that, a big exciting announcement. So, for those of you who are regulars of the show, you will know it is time to put on the spangly hat of advertising. God damn it! There you go. There's a live show for you. A poster just went down. You don't get that on other places that use appropriate blue tack and not the knockoff stuff to put up their posters. So let's recalibrate a bit. There we go. Now, let's see. I should pop open another window to see if anybody's watching or responding. So 2 shakes of a rattlesnake, and we shall see what's being said. There we go. People are reacting in a nice way. So, good. Right. Okay, so I have the spangly hat of advertising on for a very good reason. That's because we have to advertise a thing. So, this needs a little bit of explanation. Back in the midst of time when there were, what's the word I'm looking for? Comic marts. There were these magical things that you could go to and buy some comics and stuff. It wasn't like a con or a convention or anything, it was just like a dealer hall, and you went along and you bought some comics and you picked up stuff, and then you went to the pub and you chatted to your friends about the insane and the inane purchases you made that day. And there was a group that was formed out of this, and there are some astonishing memories to be gleaned from this particular club, including the infamous Jaeger to the Eye incident. There was a time members of this group had a CGC comic, which is like a slabbed comic, and took a hammer to it, because that's the correct thing to do to any slabbed comics, is break it open, because all comics are designed for reading, not to be capped in amber. There was a time one of the chaps managed to nearly gash his leg open on an escalator because he was desperate to get to, what was the word? He was desperate to get to a certain comic shop in the centre of London because he wanted a copy of Batman 181 and gashed his leg on the escalator. They are a fine group of individuals who have been documenting London life as it pertains to comics over the last, maybe a decade? I don't know, but they were very good to me when I had a few troubles a while ago, and they gave me a community and restored my confidence in myself at the time. So one of the things that's happened as a result of this is there's a physical documentation of the group called London Loves Comics, which can be found on Facebook just by typing London Loves Comics. And there will be some particularly sarcastic questions, I imagine, that will make you either good or bad for membership. And it'll probably be something like, have you spent 6 weeks in Oxfam trying to find a copy of NYX number 6 or something? Anyway, should you, I'm pointing with the wrong hand so the 3D effect doesn't work. There we go. I keep on forgetting this shit's mirrored, right? If you, there we go. Professional! Would like a piece of this physical manifestation memorabilia, then this is what you would get. Have I got it the right way up? It's going right into the light. So, is it the right way up? Yes. Okay, cool. I've got to get used to this mirroring thing. Right, so, for those who may not be able to say, it says a London Loves Comics in the style of the Comics Code Authority, and it's a very good thing. One of the principal members who features on one of the souvenir posters, because that's the thing that happens, there are souvenir posters of the London Loves Comics group, created some badges. This is one of them. There's also a TACCOM one and another one, I will drop the images into the comments after the show is over. So yeah, hit up a chap called Toby Reeve, who hopefully will comment at some point, and you can message him and say, please, may I give you money to buy one of your stinking badges. So ends the commercial announcement for the day. So now, we take off the hat, and hopefully the freshly broad creamed hair will have survived the whole hair experience. We'll put that there for the rest of the evening. Now, there is an announcement to be made, and it's very good, but I do have to look up something. So give me a second, entertain yourselves in your own way, because I was having a panicky fag, because I realised there might be quite a lot of people that I don't know coming onto the show tonight for a reason that will become clear in 2 shakes of a rattlesnake. So, I am somewhat astounded by this, and you know, like when you have these really big dreams, like, and you're kind of like, this is kind of amazing, and it's a bit too real. Like, in fact, this morning I had a dream that I was running a comic shop in a fairground, and apparently that was my live stream, right? Well, this is kind of like that, and it happened, I don't know, Wednesday, I think. And there's been a few interactions and videos and meetings and stuff. You know how this kind of started a little while back, where I was like, I think last year, just after the pandemic started, it was a kind of like I'll read some comics and try and keep the people entertained and maybe showcase some stuff they've never heard of and give them a more balanced view of what comics are beyond just a vehicle for Spider-Man and Batman and Superman and yada 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 yada, you know, all the stuff if you're watching this. So Matthew Bowden, who has been a regular and claims to be a future customer of Coleman's Comics catalogue and clear out, gave me the idea that maybe I should do this again, and I can't remember why. Because he found one of the books I was reading from, and then it kind of went, oh, maybe I should do this again, and then I got my shoulder fixed via chiropractic, and that meant I wasn't in absolutely excruciating agony every single day. So my brain kind of got going, yeah, I could do this. Yeah, why not do this? I don't really know how to put this into words, because if I say it out loud, it's going to be like, this is a thing that's really happening. This right here, the Mondo murder party, the thing I started to keep myself from getting bored, it's been picked up. Okay, I'm going to say it again. This show, we're only on the 3rd show of the reboot, the Mondo Funny Books 2099 1.0 thing. Me and the gang, the Muppets, Alf, all manner of the Ark, we have been picked up by the channel Captain Crappy and Miss Fever Blisters Fandom Iconic. So that means, realistically, this is kind of a dress rehearsal for the pilot that I'll be giving them, and this will go from like 7 of my mates to thousands of people watching me in my bedroom talk crap about comics. So yeah, I should give you that again, because like, if you don't know about these guys yet, you will. You will, because I'll be going like, hey, have you seen me on this? So this is our Captain Crappy and Miss Fever Blisters Fandom Iconic channel, which you should look up on YouTube. And again, I will put a link in the comments once the show is over. So, that is the hoopla, the hot dogging, the grandstanding, and the advertising over for 1 week. And now we get to the show properly. So, I don't know why other people stay in comics, right? This week's t-shirt is the Elvira t-shirt, because as you've probably all worked out by now, I've always just wanted to be somewhere between Rolf and Elvira, right? And I think this is probably as close as I'm going to get to it in my life without learning to play the piano or growing dog ears or wearing a black dress. I'm sure there are people who would like to see me in a black dress, and that's fine, and you can donate to my Patreon, and maybe that will become more likely. I will put the proper link to my Patreon in the comments, because apparently I've just been using the generic user sign-in. So, what was I on about? Right. So I don't know why other people stay in comics. I presume to continue to survive, or I don't know, to try and get the best collection or get their name to a collection or whatever. Oh yeah, that was something else I should have mentioned. I'll put that in a bit later. Okay. I personally, my shtick, my desire to keep doing this is stuff I've never seen before, right? And laymen, for want of a better word, not the uneducated, but just people who aren't as familiar and grounded, right? They think if you're looking for rare or weird stuff, then it must be like the most desirable, right? So it must be like Detective Comics 27 because it's the first appearance of Batman, or an Action #1 because that's the first Superman. And that's kind of the comics industry's fault, because we kind of said, hey, you know what? The things that are of value are the high value things, right? The book industry doesn't do that. It doesn't try and sell you on a first edition of Catcher in the Rye being the thing you should graduate towards. It just says, hey, here's Catcher in the Rye, you should read it. Or it puts in like, it sells itself on the recognized quality content, as does the music industry, as does cinema. Everyone else says, like, here's the good stuff, and here's an easy way to get into it, and yada yada. And the comics industry, because of its incredible lack of self-esteem, which I guess we should talk about, right? Yeah. If you were a comic fan, you probably, and you were born somewhere between, I don't know, 60s and 70s or something, if you said, I like comics, right, the Pavlovian response would be someone singing the Batman 66 theme tune at you. And I mean, I love the Batman 66 TV show. Like, it's great, it's ridiculous, it's just like, it's like the Kenneth Anger like Batman, right? It's like this spandex Pavlovian drug taking Thai camp nightmare, which you just kind of go like, how did any of that happen? But that's what people think the entirety of comics is. Everything from Tezuka to Eisner to Kirby to Posey Simmons to Alison Bechdel to Otomo, like to Frank Miller to Alan Moore, all of it, this entire pantheon and genre-spanning medium was all Batman 66. And I can see how fans kind of went a bit like, no, please take us seriously. Yeah, but you can't take you seriously because you've got Adam West running around in tights and he's fat, so it's stupid. And you're like, okay, fine. And this, every time a comic movie happened, it wasn't just a movie based on a comic. It was like, this will be the thing that you shall watch and you should take us seriously, right? And somehow Batman 89, which again I love, but like, because Jack Nicholson and Prince, like, yeah, okay, I'm all in. Like, again, it's incredibly silly, but Prince, so and then when that didn't quite work, because everyone else wanted to be Batman, every movie wanted to be like Batman, and it's like diminishing returns. So you've got Batman, so therefore you've got The Mask and Tank Girl and Monkey Bone, which isn't based on a comic, but it might as well be. It kept not working. So instead of going with the content, I mean, as an adult, if I were trying to sell you on the idea that the comics industry should be taken seriously, I wouldn't use superheroes at all. Do you know what I mean? It's like if I was trying to validify the book industry, I wouldn't say, here's Harry Potter. Not because there's anything wrong with Harry Potter, it's just I don't think it's the best example of what books can do. And equally, I don't think superheroes are what comics do best, if I'm honest with you. I think movies do a much better job with the disbelief and the uplift that you were meant to feel with superhero stuff. And once you've done 20 years of Marvel Universe, trying to go back and read a Marvel Universe comics, going, it's not quite got the same sense of woof, which I suppose is what you'd want. So yeah, we couldn't do it with the content, so we did it with the value, right? We were like, oh, did you know? And the first Hulk, lots of money, sells for lots and lots of money, and that's a weird aspiration, I think. One, I don't really think that the comics industry needs to be taken seriously, and two, I don't really value the cultural opinion of a populace who says Mrs. Brown's Boys is funny. Okay, like, no, you don't. If you think Mrs. Brown's Boys are funny, you don't get to judge an entire medium for its history, because, like, you're not coming with any kind of credentials. If you were to say to me, like, I'm not really sure about this industry and I really like Black Mirror, I'd be like, I mean, at least you like some good stuff. You know what I mean? You're coming at me with some degree of taste, but, it's really hot. I don't get it. Like, it's sunny today, but it's really... Okay. It was snowing this morning and now it's melting in here because the world is collapsing. Right. Okay. That's a bit better. I can feel the steam rising with my neck. So, people assume, if you are hunting comics, that what you're after is your first Amazing Spider-Man, your first Doctor Strange, and maybe some people are. Maybe they are. Like, I'm not. I think there's far more interesting things to be found in history. So, on the one hand, literally, we have the financially desirable, right? And that is the aforementioned Detective 27, NYX6, X-Men 1, yada 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 yada. All that stuff's Hulk 181, all that stuff's sitting on the back wall of boring comic shops doing slightly yellow in horrible slabs, which is nothing to do with the culture of reading or that kind of thing. Okay, so that's there. That's on this hand, and we'll place this hand down here. And on the other hand, we have the weird bits. The things that are not so easy to find. So, to give you a bit of definition, I've got some examples, because I planned this stuff out. Let me just see where we are with people saying stuff. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, hello, someone has said something about that video's terrible. Okay. Right, okay. Before I go into my examples, I should say this. Kyle, are you still there? Good. Do you remember about a month ago we agreed, without going into too much detail, that you and I were going to do a thing, right? Well, I spoke to the Captain Crappy people and said I would like to do this thing and I would like to document it. And they said, alright, do you want to put it on our channel? I was like, yes, I do. So, sir, when the lockdown restrictions of the people from the UK flying to America are removed, which is hopefully soon, maybe in the next 8 weeks or so, we will do the thing we discussed, and we will broadcast it on a channel. So I hope that cheers you up a wee bit, because it certainly cheered me up, because I like having goals. I like having helpful goals. So, back to the regular scheduled show. So let's take, for example, Fantastic Four 1, right? Now, on the face of it, I don't have a copy of Fantastic Four #1, because have you seen my place? If I had a copy of Fantastic Four #1, I wouldn't be in a 2-bedroom flat in Wandsworth. Alright. Anyway, but for demonstration purposes, this is Fantastic Four #1, and it is the beginning of what we would recognise to be the Marvel Universe, really. Like, you could make the argument for Captain America 1 back in the 40s, but there's quite a lot of time between that World War II cap and Marvel going, let's do some superheroes. So an FF1 is rare, right, because it's difficult to get hold of that printing, but it's not rare in terms of content. If you Mr. or Mrs. or of your own choice viewer, want to read Fantastic Four 1, there are probably about a dozen physical options that you could try. I'm sure there have been multiple printings of issue 1 in book form, or in single issue form, or you can download it off Comixology now. It's probably like £2 at the most. So FF1 is rare but not rare, because we don't define it as rare because the content is easily accessible, right? So it's not like, it's like a New Mutants 98 or a Hulk 181. They're expensive, right? But you can, if you just want to read the damn thing, then you can read the damn thing. So here's your halfway mark, which would be, this is Crossover Classics Volume 1. In itself, rare, because it reprints the first 4 Marvel vs. DC crossovers. Marvel and DC at the moment will not collaborate with each other, right? So there will not be a JLA Avengers Volume 2 in the foreseeable future, and all their back catalogue, because there's about 18, maybe 20 odd things that are Marvel and DC crossover. No, more than that actually. But yeah, that's all out of print. It's all gone. Superman vs. Spider-Man, Superman vs. Spider-Man 2, Batman vs. Hulk, X-Men vs. Teen Titans, the Marvel vs. DC miniseries, the Amalgam books. Yeah, that takes it to about 30 actually. I can't remember the others now. Batman, Spider-Man, Spider-Man Daredevil, Superman, dozens, loads and loads and loads of things, all gone. This reprints Superman Spider-Man 1, which was originally a Treasury Edition thing anyway. So already Treasury Edition things, difficult to find outside of like super specialist comic shops. Then, because of the Marvel DC embargo, you can't find it, it's not in print, and therefore you can't find it on Comixology. So finding a book like this is long out of print. So that's the middle ground, right? Because it's accessible, but not really. Like, you'd have to know what you're looking for. You're not just going to run into this. And then we go into the actually rare. Give me a second, because I'm just praying, right, when the poster went down, it didn't take out the cup of coffee, because at the moment the angle I've got is the poster covers everything, and I've got a horrible feeling when I take this off, there's going to be a spoilt cup of coffee, and my floor, and my phone chargers, and my PSP are just going to be bathing in black coffee. 2 seconds. It's all okay. Right, okay. Nobody need die today. Okay. So, and we're back. This is my cup of coffee. Pretty good. How's it going out there? You guys enjoying the show? I realise I'm probably a bit hyper. It's been, like I said, it's been a bit of a rough week, so not everything's on 100% out there. You know, the show must go on, literally. So, the first selection of things that are genuinely rare are kind of a reminder for someone that we're going to do a thing, and now we have a much bigger audience to do it. So don't get scared, it'll be fine, right? It'll be fine. One of my favourite things I've ever had to do in my life is having to explain to one of my more innocent friends that such a thing as a Tijuana Bible exists. And for the uninitiated, these were, you know how like you get XXX porn parodies of famous movies and stuff, like The Dark Knight Rises, which isn't a porn parody, but really, really should be. I mean, like, come on, The Dark Knight Rises. Before, in the 30s, I think, wouldn't swear, in lieu of that kind of thing, you had something called Tijuana Bible. Now this isn't one, although I do hope to get one at some point, but it is a compilation as put out by Fantagraphics of, I think there's at least a dozen of these. It's actually put out by Eros Comics, which is the porn imprint of Fantagraphics, because they needed money. At some point I'm going to have to do an episode on Eros Comics, because there's a story about dinosaur sex comics that you lot probably need to know. So what these are your famous pop stars, well, not pretty pop stars, film stars and comic characters in time in lurid positions, literally and figuratively. They are the high end of the, what's the word I'm looking for, selective fan scale. Now, you don't find these unless you're looking for them, but my god, there is some content going on in this particular genre of things. In fact, so weirdly, somebody on Instagram shared a Popeye one today, which is never gonna see Shelley Duvall in the same light again. So that's one particular form. On the other end of the spectrum, again, you'd have to be looking for it, right? Your friend and mine, Alf. Okay, so this is intriguing because there was a period where Marvel UK had money, and what they did was they would take famous licensed things and reprint the American versions in UK format. This one has the stickers, and I have to put in a big thank you to Will Morgan, because he was doing one of the periodic clear outs of merchandise not particularly in line with what their stuff they wanted to do with, and he just left an Alf one with the labels and like, do you want this? In a kind of like, do you want this because I'm going to throw it in the bin, right? But I was like, of course I do, because Alf is the best. So this is an Alf one with stickers. The print runs on these are incredibly low, and finding a copy with stickers is even more good. So we like this because Alf is the best, and and also watch your cats. Next up in the obtuse. So my old, what's the word I'm looking for? When I was in the Filthy Orphans, one of the tricks I used to do while I was waiting for the boys to tune up, because that was quite, what's the word I'm looking for? Epic thing. I'm a singer, right? So I have to tune up anything. Like, I just have to make sure I'm standing in the right place and facing the audience. Like, yep, they're there. Okay, got that. I have to try and entertain them, because if you're an open mic thing, like, you've got 15 minutes, and the 15 minutes is what you have, regardless of what you do with it. So if you've got 3 minutes tuning up, you got to do something to entertain them. And my party trick back when I used to drink was I would down a pint of Guinness in one. And it seemed to astound everyone, but also it really got the gig going, because if you down a pint of Guinness in one, that stuff's like speed porridge. I don't know how else to describe it, except speed porridge. Actually, yeah, maybe that is the best way to describe it. Anyway, blah blah blah, next thing, The Twilight Zone. These were published by Now Comics in the 90s. Now is an odd company, I'll probably have a more extended look in a future thing. But they had a really good eye for future artists. So, like, the first few issues were, like, they had really top tier, like, guys like Neil Adams and Harlan Ellison doing them. Sorry, I have coffee stuck midway in my throat, and I'm trying to talk, but it's also like a so give me a second here. Right, I think I've now cleared the caffeine-based blockage. So, I picked this particular issue because it's got a cover by Mitch O'Connell. And I really like Mitch O'Connell. He is America's best artist. Probably most famous for the infamous They Live Trump parody, which has been ripped off to no end, but I know he is the guy who originated that. And also, he is currently putting together an exhibition on Chesty Morgan. Don't Google her at work. Do Google her. It's gonna be an experience. But yeah, like, they got really good people doing the covers. So I have been a bit hoarder crazy with my Twilight Zone and Now stuff. So there are at least 3 comics called the Twilight Zone issue 1 by now. So I don't know if they're all the same one with different covers or what. But Mitch O'Connell cover, really early Mitch O'Connell, always worth. I don't think he's done a great deal of comic work. Although, as he will no doubt tell you if you look at his profile, he did do Marvel #6, which has got a banger of a double-page spread, and it looks really good. So, while I wouldn't normally advocate buying a Marvel comic, you should buy a comic called Marvel #6, featuring Mitch O'Connell, who is the man who drew this fine thing here. Next up on the what is this? One for the Disney fans in the audience, which, I mean, technically is anybody who likes Marvel now, I guess, but the more pure Marvel, Disney, sorry, the Goofy, Pluto, Beauty and the Beast, Donald Duck, Mickey Mouse. Disney have not always been the nicest people in the world, and this is a 2-issue little package, and I doubt we'll ever see this reprinted again. And I have multiple copies of this just in case, and it is the uncensored Floyd Gottfriedson comic strips from the 1930s, and if you want to talk about things being cancelled, my god. Tintin in the Congo is what I'm saying. There are, I presume, there was just no presumption that the Mickey Mouse strips would ever get beyond, their first run. It'd be like, here we go, slap them out, put them in the newspapers, and then we'll never hear the like. No one's ever going to collect. I mean, that's one of the things people don't take in mind when they evaluate most comics from until maybe the 90s. None of this stuff was meant to be collected. Nobody thought we're going to see this thing again and reevaluate it and reconfigure our thinking on it. It was just kind of like, bang, this is out. There's very few people who saw this stuff and said this ought to be collected and it ought to be part of the general consciousness beyond our lifetimes. Like Dave Sim and Will Eisner were the main guys who said, let's put this stuff in book form, put a spine to it, and people in the future will be able to read it and see what they think. Before that, nobody was particularly good at saying, here are 12 issues of the thing, read it again. Things that Alan Moore's probably not very happy to have pioneered, including Watchmen staying in print forever. But yes, this is Eclipse's 2-issue series, The Uncensored Mouse. It is worth knowing for archival and historical purposes. Mickey Mouse was not always a particularly safe strip to read, especially by 21st century sensibilities. This one, I don't know, this might be kind of niche, but it's one of those things that continues to interest me. So I'm a big fan of a comic called Too Much Coffee Man. Here is Too Much Coffee Man. And this is when they went to magazine format, because it's easier to, if you're back then, if you were stocking stuff in, say, Borders, or W.H. Smith's, or Barnes and Nobles, it's usually better to just kind of move away from the comic size section, because, they're really flimsy, and it doesn't look very nice. Whereas mag size stuff does have a certain prestige about it, and it does look more adult. Too Much Coffee Man, this was their 0 issue. I can't remember if it was sent out as a retailer promo or what, but it's incredibly difficult to get hold of this unless you're literally Shannon Wheeler, who created it, by the way. But this I like, well, is like the right word? This I think is significant because it documents Kieran Dyer, not the footballer, the cartoonist, and his lawsuit with Starbucks. Now, this is a bit of a niche thing, but Kieran Dyer created a logo which was a parody of Starbucks. Starbucks were not very happy, and they are the reason I don't go to Starbucks now, because they went to incredible lengths to persecute Kieran. And this is worth reading if you ever want a reason to understand why it's a good idea to credit artists for what they've done, and to recognise the definition between parody and unfair use. This will take you through it. It's also a very funny magazine, and I'm trying to remember what else was in here now. Oh, and at one point this issue had Chuck Palahniuk, as in Fight Club, as in Invisible Monsters, as in Sleep, as in non-fiction. Not Sleep, what am I thinking of? Is it Snuff? There's one about a porn movie, anyway, and I can't remember what the title of it is, but yeah, it's very good. Yeah, he does a thing where I think it's a Star Wars cookbook, it's around the time that he was quite amused to find out there was a Fight Club video game, and then the rest of us played it and went, yeah, this is kind of a weird thing. So yeah, if you have not read any Too Much Coffee Man stuff, give it a Google, because he's still doing new strips, and a couple of years ago, or maybe more now, he put out a very good book called Shit My President Says, which is a collection of Trump's tweets illustrated, which is a good read. Also going to be quite a frightening historical document. Don't worry, we are approaching the end, because I've read this a lot. Let's take a break and see what you guys are saying in the comments. Yeah, da 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 da. La la la. People are reacting to the videos. Oh, Kyle, you big hero. Oh, Kyle. Okay, Kyle is right. The first Marvel DC Treasury crossover is Wizard of Oz. I sit corrected. Literally, I'd forgotten about that. La 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 la. What have we got here? Oh, good work, Matthew, for finding the thing. Oh, Toby has posted. So yes, that man Toby, who has written Top Work Fella 26 minutes ago, hit him up and get a badge. That freeze frame is horrible, horrible, horrible. Who's David Carpenter? I don't know who you are, Mr. Carpenter, but once this video is over, I shall look you over, and we will discuss the possibility of being a friend. I'm gonna skip that because I had, like, rock and roll is the greatest, right? It is. It's such a. It's up there with Scrooged, as in the Bill Murray, him out of the New York Dolls, like, tribute to New York culture in the late 70s, early 80s. Rock and roll is like Iggy and Lou Reed and Debbie Harry, in this beautiful animated thing. And I was kind of having is rock and roll or heavy metal the better animated thing from the early 80s? So I will come back to this, but it is a bugger to find. This is back when Marvel were a bit more interesting and they did adaptations of films, and this is one of them, and this has got lots of like nice notes and stuff. I don't know where you would find it now, because I don't know if Marvel could reprint it. They totally should. I mean, I might do a video on things Marvel have published that they probably ought to reprint, but seem to have forgotten they ever did it. The June adaptation by Bill Sienkiewicz, just out of print. There's a new movie coming up and everything. Probably quite an interest in that and Bill, but no, still out of print. One of the classics. Speaking of pop culture relevance, may have noticed certain fight going on in the movie world, and this is up there again. Things that will never be reprinted because it's based on an advert, and I don't know who has the rights to do it, and you'd have to get in touch with the guy and say, like, look, are you alright with us doing a second printing? But it's one of the favourites of the House of Nerves, which is Godzilla vs. Charles Barkley. I did have 2 copies of this, and then I thought actually my hoardings get a bit out of control, so I did sell it just before the second copy, just before Christmas. But if I ever made a short box of things to carry, in case of the problems, whatever those problems would be, and I had to go on the run, this would be coming with me. It's kind of a classic. I don't even know where you'd find it now. eBay probably, but it's gonna run you a few dollars. Yeah, pirate it. Just pirate it. Like, normally I wouldn't advocate it, but Dark Horse ain't gonna reprint it, so don't pay, I don't know, 30 quid for a 32-page comics, because it is very silly. Very silly. At one point Godzilla's like dunking a basketball while wearing trainers. It's like madness. It's a home straight. Do you know what? We'll skip that, because this is the penultimate one. And this is, I thought I'd got this signed, but I see the chap who did it, well, I used to see him back when we could see each other quite frequently, so I just assumed I'd done it, but I haven't. So, John McCrayer, next time I see you, I need you to get you to sign this just so I know I will have absolutely the only copy of this that exists. So there was a series by Mr. Garth Ennis, as in Preacher, you know, The Boys, that's quite a big thing, right? Quite a big name in comics. Boys is quite a big deal. You may have seen it on the televisions and stuff. He also did a fairly morally reprehensible show about a couple of incompetent Irish private detectives called Dicks. Dicks ran for a few issues and was published by Caliber, and then was reprinted by another comic publisher. Not a big fan, to be honest, but this is the peak of what they have done ever. Like, this is Dicks 2, but it's not a regular Dicks 2. It's a polybag copy of Dicks 2, and I'm going to try and zoom in, because you see right in the middle there. Ah, damn, I'm trying to do it without catching the light, and I may fail. Aha. That, trusted friends, colleagues, and haters, is a Dicks condom. It's still sealed, never been used, and the next time I see Mr. John McCrea in anything, he is going to sign that. And I know he's going to sign that because I know he owes me a big one. For the last time I saw him, I'm just going to say the 4-letter word of Batman, and then being asked by somebody's mother exactly what that phrase meant, and that's why you're signing this, John. Alright? So, I promised you all in the description something involving a gun. Now, tonight's reading is a bit special, right? Because we started off on the theme of the rare things, the desirable things, and I think any of us who've been doing this for a while, we get our Ishmael, right? We get our I will find this one day, and on that day, like, my tasks on this earth will be over, and I will have nothing left to do, and I will be Alexander the Great who weeps because there are no more lands to conquer. This is mine. On the face of it, it seems quite a simple one. In fact, I've got a copy of it right here. It's a copy of Trencher #1. Ignore the $10 sticker. This was one of the second wave of Image books that came out 1993, I think. Having watched one of those Peter David, Todd McFarlane debates recently, essentially these books, Trencher, Wildstorm, and the Wildstar, Shaman's Tears, a couple of others, Tribe, they were all kind of like our main books are running late all the time, so we need you trusted comic creators who have cachet and prestige to put out a series of titles, and they're going to be our regular books. So when, well, no, Spawn was quite good for shipping on time, but when a Youngblood or a Wildcats runs late, there will still be Image product on the shelves, and that will be fine, right? And when that all went tits up, they were all cancelled. Trencher moved to Black Ball by distinguished comics guru and man of all trades, Dave Elliott. Alright, Dave, I know you're watching. So I found, I remember I asked you about this, and I found half of the answer, and that's what we're covering tonight. And this is what involves the gun, and this is tonight's reading. Bear with me as I put on the broken glasses, because this is from Hero, one of the better Wizard also rans from the mid-90s, which was, this is back when it's still being Wizard. It hadn't dumped the price guide, it hadn't decided to start being a bit more literary. And one of the things you did if you were running against Wizard is that you had all kinds of crazy contests, right? And I thought I may have dreamt this incident, or I thought I may have misunderstood it, but I have gone through my archive of 90s magazines trying to go like, what? Did this happen? And you know what? It did happen. So, from November 1993, which means this was probably published in October or something, right? This is one of Hero's contests regarding Trencher #1. Now, I want the thing I'm about to describe. I don't know what to offer you. but we'll get there. If any of you watching this have the thing I'm about to describe, get in contact, because this is my Ishmael, right? 2 shakes of a rattlesnake, page 110 of Hero number 5, published, according to this, 1993. In their San Diego roundup, this is their competition. These days, everybody talks about blowing the speculator market wide open, but only Keith Giffen has done something about it. Recently, Keith took 50 copies of Trencher number 1 and put a bullet through them, literally. Then he signed and numbered them. The result, a limited collector's item and a story that is truly full of holes. Well, one hole anyway. And now you can win one comic, not one hole. Just tell us in 25 words or less why on earth you'd want a comic book that you wouldn't even be able to finish reading. Hero judges will pick winners based on originality, cleverness, and of course the all-important swimsuit competition. The deadline for entries was November the 1st, 1993. So just to reiterate, this comic, created by Keith Giffen. Keith Giffen had 50 copies and he shot them. I want one. I've never seen even a photo of one. I thought this was a delirium dream because I have dreamt some weird comics. But somewhere out there, somebody has one of the 50 copies of this. And I want to see one. So, that is tonight's show, ladies and gentlemen. And there will be a version of this that is probably slightly less haphazard and hyperactive on the Captain Crappy and Fever Blisters fandom page. So thank you very much for tuning in. For those of you who know me in real life, thank you for supporting me in the last week. Thank you for those who've been in touch. I have appreciated it, even if I haven't said anything back. Kind of a weird thing to deal with. I can only say from here that this show is dedicated to the memory of Joanna Scarrett, and I thank her again for all the help she gave me in one of the most difficult periods of my life. Thank you, dog. Rest in peace. So yeah, thank you all for watching. We will be back as usual for Mondo Murder Party episode 4. Good night, folks. Sleep well, wherever you are.